Welcome back to Shimpton Park Farm. Despite it being winter, we have been pretty full on here. We left you when we were ploughing some fields in preparation for planting crops in the spring. Well, Christmas came and went, and our foraging wreath-making school workshops were wonderful. We had some great celebrations in Alfeton Church, which sits in the middle of the farm, and there was much merriment, as well as our annual awarding of our Cock-Up of the Year prize. Radio Suffolk came back to see what happens on a farm in the winter, and the yard was eerily quiet. But the sheep still need feeding whatever day of the year it is. The sheep are grazing the lays strip by strip and enjoying the haylage we made for them with the spare grass we had last summer. It's too wet for tractor work, so the farmyard seems to have turned into a sheep sorting yard. And winter is the time to work on trees while their sap is down in their roots. Cutting them, planting them, trimming them, sitting by the heat of their fire.
My name is Jack, nice to meet you.
Hello.
Hello.
What are you doing here?
We're planting hedge, just hedge.
And have you been going all the way through Christmas?
No, we had a break 3 days.
Okay.
How long? 3 weeks, maybe 2 weeks.
For how many metres?
6,000.
Wow, okay. And what different tree species?
Yeah, the 70% is hawthorn.
Okay. And the others?
And the rest are some spindle, dogwood, field maple.
So what's the process?
The process?
Yeah?
The process is easy, just to make a line.
Yeah.
As straight as you can.
Yeah.
And plant 2,000 plants as quick as you can. And as good, the quality is first, of course. The next year have to be green, everything. This is our goal. We are on the side about 6 maybe.
In the dark?
After yeah, it's dark. After our driving.
And then what time do you finish?
When the sun is come slowly down and darkness cover the planet and we can't see anything, so time to finish.
What are you doing, Matthew?
Yeah, just doing this first year of the hedge coppicing programme, first of 3 years across the farm. Yeah, sort of taking the over mature hedges down to stump level, and then they'll regenerate from the base. They'll coppice up next spring, because if they're left any longer than they are, they'll just become a line of trees rather than a functioning hedgerow that we need for all the benefit that brings across the farm.
Quite exciting new project.
Yeah, it is. We're laying it onto the field behind, and then that'll all be picked up and extracted back to the farm and chipped to go into the 3 biomass boilers.
Brilliant. We had an injured barn owl that was found by a footpath on the farm. So after wonderful care from the Colchester Owl Rescue, we gently released him. The crops we planted in the autumn are up and away. And the newly named Suffolk hounds met to ride some trails they had laid. Seems a good resolution all round. It's been too wet to get on with much field work, and in order to save damaging the grass, we've taken to using the farmyard as the sheep sorting area again. There's no rest for our wonderful team. When there's no field work to be done, it's moving pianos with tractors for weddings. We mend our own potholes. Yes, we get them mended. And there's constant machinery mending and checking. And January hosts the two big farming conferences, sometimes competing, in Oxford. Sometimes organic can be rather unfashionable, but this year the discussions on the environmental benefits of this chemical-free system and the farming it brings were widely debated, it seems. But as soon as possible, the team are back out on the fields, trying to prepare for spring planting or drilling. And it's scanning day today. We check to see who's expecting a single lamb, or twins, or even triplets or quads. Don't really want many of those, as the ewe will find it hard to rear them in an outdoor system if they do survive. However, it has been done, and these lovely Romney sheep seem to manage well. What time did you start?
6:30.
Okay. How long do you think it'll take?
Hopefully until lunchtime.
And how many are you going to do?
We've got about 1,000 here.
And what about the ewe lambs?
A third, they're just scanning us because one of the rams got out, so we're just checking that they're all
Okay.
not pregnant.
That could be the Cock Up of the Year
Yes.
award. Black for singles. What have we got for twins?
No colour.
No colour for twins.
And then blue for triplets and orange for empties.
Okay. So what's that one? Okay. We've done some big rethinking about our sheep this year.
We've looked at kind of lots of data and how yields have compared on the farm and how the sheep have been benefiting it. And some of the challenges we've got running this number of sheep on the organic heavy clay system. And we sort of decided that actually the way to do it was to really reduce that number. We're changing the rotation, so we're going from 6-year rotationary lays down to 5 years. So the lays will only be in 1 year. They might have some sheep flying over them if they're fit enough. So have the sheep that can remain on the permanent pasture all year if they need to. It's one of the challenges of grazing sheep over the winter on herbal lays on a heavy clay, is that they eat them, so our farm cover drops down really quite short, and then in the spring it's much slower getting up, and it works all right for the first year when they're freshly sown, but then the second year the lays then become quite dominated with ryegrass. Although that's great for the sheep because that keeps them afloat over the winter, it's hard for us to terminate when we come into the spring cultivations, so that has an impact on the arable yield. Having the sheep off the herbal lays most of the time, and then opportunistically being able to graze herbal lays and green manure when we need it will make the farm a lot more dynamic. Wet winters have been kind of the crux really, so we have 30-40% clay across the farm, and it can be pretty grim in the rain, and ultimately they can then lead to a reasonable amount of compaction. So compaction prevents water infiltration into the ground, so our soils then become less resilient to drought, less resilient to high periods of rainfall, and roots struggle to get through.
This is a really exciting time for the farm, and with a smaller flock we can constantly focus on the best possible soil management while concentrating even more on the delicious flavour of our lamb for us and our customers. So with the scanning done, the sorting begins. Those that we want to keep and those that we want to sell. Poor Joe, an awful lot of counting sheep. There is a sadness about some of them going, but it's rather lovely to hear from those that have bought them to start new flocks. And those that we kept are delighted with the sudden warmth and a sprinkling of new grass. The boys were itching to get drilling. The job is to turn this rough ground into a soil fine enough for the small seeds to be planted into it and to push through when they germinate.
The sun's come out over the last sort of 10 days, and so it's given us an opportunity to start our spring drilling. So we are cultivating the land that we ploughed after Christmas, after they'd had a winter cover crop in, and we're cultivating generally the fields once or twice, and then we're sowing them with our starting with our spring barley, and then we'll be on to our spring oats later in the month.
It's a patient waiting game. The window in which to get the land broken down ready for these tiny seeds is tight, but it needs to dry out in between cultivations. Every field is different, every day is different. There's lots of driving around, watching, waiting and adjusting. This is where the fortunes of next harvest are set. We hosted a soil study day. Understanding your soil is probably the most important thing any farmer does. This day reminded us that some of the most simple monitoring tests, from infiltration to examining and recording root depth and structure, that will ultimately improve the soil's capacity to both hold and release water while it feeds the plant. We compared field soil with undisturbed hedge or woodland soil, which gave us a benchmark. And the big lesson was check, check and check again. Keep monitoring what's happening and make no assumptions. And this season saw us wish Charles the greatest of luck as he heads to pastures new. And there was a new kid on the block. With great excitement that Dominic of Biddle's Bread has moved his artisan bakery into our events barn. Now we have in-house bread to eat at our conferences, as well as our delicious lamb to serve. And as well as offering farm walks, we can even do bread and pizza making workshops. This can only get better. We even saw the fruition of an art project at the Sainsbury's Centre at the University of East Anglia, where we've been working with the famous sculptor Ivan Morrison, looking at our methods of farming without chemicals and our efforts to adapt to climate change. We baled our bycrop for him to create these vast hayricks. Art on the farm, we love it. And while half the team held the fort on the farm, the other half decided to run the Cambridge Half Marathon again to keep them focused on health and well-being. But by the afternoon they were straight back onto the fields.
when the sun comes out, I mean, it just lifts everyone's spirits. In the depths of winter, farming actually can be quite difficult, but you know, when the sun comes out, there genuinely is no better job in the world.
Thank you so much for joining us. Winter and summer, it's always pretty busy here. Fingers crossed that the soil warms up and those seeds spring into life. See you next time.